very good. So again, my edition of this book is different from the one that I usually use. The words may be a little bit different, okay? For those who are more comfortable, we can always use your one book. Let us start with a prayer. We give you thanks, dear God, our Father, Creator, and the provider of all things. We are grateful for this opportunity, for the relative health that allow us to be here together, seeking to better ourselves, seeking to better understand ourselves. Asking to be inspired, to be guided by our spiritual benefactors, the true workers of SGNY, to understand the messages, to gain the courage, the discipline, to apply in our daily lives, all that we learn here, the teachings of our Master Jesus Christ, who is with us, fulfilling his promise that every time that two or more would gather in his name, there you would be. Spiritism is the revived Christianity, and with this in mind as permission to start our meeting. So be it.
So be it.
Okay, so we are on chapter 15 with the topic of the writing or psychographic mediums. We did cover what Kardec calls mechanical and also known as unconscious mediums, and the intuitive, with also is more commonly known as conscious medium. Let's read 181 and then I'll do a complete recap of everything. It'll be easier that way. Okay?
Semi-mechanical mediums, 181. In the case of pure mechanical mediums, the movement of the hand is independent of the will. With the intuitive medium, that movement is voluntary. The semi-mechanical medium participates in the qualities of both the others. He feels an impulsion that is given to his hand independently of his will. But at the same time, he knows as he goes on what he is writing. With the mechanical medium, the thought follows the act of writing. With the intuitive medium, it precedes it. With the semi-mechanical medium, it accompanies it. These last named mediums are the most common of all.
Thanks. So in order to explain semi-mechanical mediums or semi-conscious medium, more often we see that expression, that denomination, semi-conscious mediums. You need to again explain conscious or unconscious or mechanical, or intuitive or conscious medium. So the mechanical is the one that is in a very deep trance, in which there is a much further expansion, so to say, of the perispirit. The thoughts of the spirit bypasses the cognitive parts of the brain and go straight to the part of the brain that deals with writing. So the medium will write without know what it's writing, because it's not going to the cognitive functions of the brain. So it's mechanical in that sense. And contrary to that, we have the so-called conscious or intuitive mediums, the ones that also in mediumistic trance receive the thoughts of the spirit through perispiritual contact. There is always an expansion, of the perispirit of the medium. They interact with the perispirit of the communicating spirit. The thoughts grows to the cognitive part of the brain of the medium, who will serve mostly as an interpreter. That's the word that Kardec used, if you just remember, read that last week, and I think it's a very good word. And we write to know exactly what he or she is writing as a medium. How do you know that it's not his or her own thoughts? Well, it starts from knowing thyself, right? You know yourself, you know what's yours and what's not yours. Is it an easy thing to do? Perhaps to get to know ourselves is a little bit of a challenge. So what is a semi-mechanical or semi-conscious? It's something between the two, right? That it's, the thoughts are a little bit, let's say, foggy, in which the medium is not fully, completely aware, but it's not fully, completely unaware as well. It's something in between. Therefore, it's a semi-conscious or semi-mechanical. It goes partially to the cognitive part of the brain of the medium, and of course, as go truly to the writing faculties of the medium. So the medium can write, not completely aware of what it's right, what it is writing. So usually the mechanical, the conscious, will know of what of the words once it's off of the trance. The intuitive conscious will know as it is writing, and the semi-conscious or semi-mechanical will know completely after, but you know partially as it is writing. And that's obvious, is the most common, is the one that most of this mediums mobile psychography have. We would be expect something in between the two, the mechanical and the intuitive. Questions, comment?
So I'm not sure if understood. So let me give an example. So you tell me which one is which. A medium that receives the message, put on paper, and afterwards doesn't remember the message, it falls in which category?
What?
A medium that does the psychography, right?
Mm-hmm.
And after it finished, it does not remember the message, just during the psychography itself.
When it's writing, it knows what it's writing?
It knows because you're receiving the message. So it's not, this kind of meaning is not a mechanic, but I think the difference between the semi-mechanic and the intuitive is so subtle that I'm not getting it. Mm-hmm. Which one is which?
Okay.
So,
all right. I am an spirit, and you are a medium of psychography. You expand your perispirit. I approximate with my perispirit to yours, and I send my thoughts that go straight to the part of the brain that deals with writing. So you are writing without know what you are writing. You are mechanical. You're just being mechanical. Okay, you are an unconscious medium. You only know what has been written after you are off the trance and you read that message. Now, the other way, You are the medium, I am the spirit. Our perispirits interact. I I send thoughts to you, it goes to your brain, you think of it all. I receive the thoughts, they're almost saying for me to write A, B, C, and D. And you write A, B, C, and D, very aware that you are writing A, B, C, and D. That is a conscious or intuitive medium. Okay?
Okay.
Clear? And a semi-mechanic is something in between. That you have a vague idea of the thoughts you are receiving, but you are not fully aware of it. I think that you are describing to me falls into the semi-mechanical. That you have a perception that you're writing someone else's thought, but you're not fully aware of those thoughts, not completely aware of those thoughts.
Yeah, I'm aware while I'm writing, but once it's done, I can't remember. I mean, I have an idea what was written, but I don't remember what was written.
I
But
think
while it's
that,
happening, it's clear because it has to be clear. Otherwise, you know, it's at least at this point, it's hard to
yeah, I would
write.
say that that falls into the semi-mechanical, just like in a dream, that when you are dreaming, not all of our thoughts goes through our cognitive part of, not just everything that happens during that dreams does not go to the full cognitive part of the brain. So we remember pieces of it, but not the whole thing. The way you describe to me seems like you have a semi-perception of while you're writing, but it's not going through the cognitive part of the brain. Therefore, you can't remember once you are out of that trance.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay?
okay. Inspirational mediums, 182. Everyone who, either in the normal state or in trance, receives an influx of thoughts that are foreign to the action of his own mind may be included in the category of inspirational mediums. They are, in fact, a variety of intuitive medium, with this difference, that the intervention of an occult power is much less evident in their case, so that with inspirational mediums, it is even more difficult to distinguish their own thought from that which is suggested, that in the case of intuitive medium, the peculiar characteristic of the inspirational medium is spontaneousness. And here let us remark that inspiration comes to us all from spirits who influence us, for good or for evil, in every circumstances of our lives and in every resolution we make. And it may therefore be truly said that, in this respect, everyone is a medium. For there is no one who has not about him his familiar spirits, who do their utmost to suggest salutary or pernicious counsels to those with whom they are connected, a true which, were we duly penetrated with its reality and importance, would frequently lead us to oppose a more effectual resistance to the suggestions of evil by seeking the inspiration of our guardian angel in our moments of uncertainty as to what we should say or do. At such times, we should evoke that,
Got it?
okay, evoke that watchful guardian with fervent and confidence as providentially appointed friend. And if we did so, we should often be astonished at the new ideas which would arise in our minds, as though by enchantment, whether for the taking of an important decision or for the accomplishment of our special work. If after such an appeal for guidance, no distinct idea occurred to us, it would show that we must wait a little longer before taking a decision. It is evident that an idea which arises spontaneously in our minds is really foreign to ourselves, because if it had been always in our mind, we should always have been in possession of it, and there would have been no reason why it should not have been called up by a conscious act of our own will. He who is not blind has only to open his eyes. When he will, in order to see in the same way he would have has who has the ideas of his own, has them and always at his disposal. If they do not come at his will, it is because he has to get them elsewhere than from his own stock. From the foregoing considerations, it is evident that we may include in this category the persons who, without being endowed with superior intelligence and without any modification of their own normal state, have flashes of intellectual lucidity which give them, for the moment, an unusual facility of conception and of expression, and sometimes a presentiment of future events. In what are rightly spoken of us as moments of inspiration. The flow of ideas is abundant and continuous, our thoughts succeeding one another in an orderly enchantment through the action of involuntary, spontaneous, and almost feverish impulsion. It appears to us at such times as though some superior intelligence had come to our aid, and our mind seems to have suddenly relieved of a burden.
Okay, so the inspired medium. So if I would have to ask who are the inspired mediums, what do you answer? The answer should be all of us. This is the kind of mediumship that leads Kardec to say we are all mediums at a certain degree, of a lesser degree of the so-called ostensive mediums, the mediums who interact in a much deeper way with the spirits, with the mediums who have a much open window, so to say, to the spiritual world. But we are all mediums in a very smaller capacity, and that smaller capacity is the ability of being inspired by discarnate spirits. This is a note that say that inspiration is from a third party. Intuition is from oneself. Okay, just make a differentiate for us here in the story of spiritism here. If I'm being inspired, it's from someone else giving me inspiration. If I have an intuition, it's something that is from myself. How do I know? Because Kardec says here, they may be regarded as an intuitive variety, but which the difference that the intervention of a concealed power is much less detectable, for which uninspired medium, it is more difficult to distinguish between the inspired thought itself and the medium's own thought. So Kardec saying that, how do I know if the thought that just arised, that just came into my mind, is my own, an intuition, or come from someone else, an inspiration? I think the only way to do that is to know oneself, is to have a deep understanding of really what is our common line of thinking for in many different situations. What do I usually do in many different situations? If the thoughts that come are somewhat not necessarily contrary, but different from what is usual of me, I can suspect I think the better will suspect that I've been inspired, that it's come from a third party. Can I say as an absolute that would require a very deep self-knowledge, very deep self-understanding that perhaps most of us don't have. Is it really so important? Not really. Do I have to know if it's mine or if it's someone else? Not necessarily. The importance of what am I gonna do with those thoughts? How am I gonna use those thoughts? When I receive those thoughts, will I follow it or will I reason and choose not to follow it? Because we can be inspired by any spirit. We can be inspired by a guardian angel. We can be inspired by our obsessors. We can be inspired for someone who wants us to do good. We can be inspired for someone who wants us to do bad. If you are not able to reason and decide within reason, with using your moral, intellectual abilities to decide A or B, you put yourself in serious trouble. That's one who was making that noise too. Thank you.
Not done. Not listening.
Okay, so Kardec continues asking us, suggesting to us that how can we have a trust that we are being inspired? And he uses over here examples of that. We have a guardian angel, we have a protecting guardian spirit, right? And this protecting guardian spirit is with us at all time, and it's trying to inspire us towards good, or to protect us, or do the best for us that he or she can do for us at all times. And we find ourselves in a decision time. You have to take decision A or B, and we don't know which decision to take, and we pray and we ask for guidance. And a thought come that take A, and you trust that it's coming from your guardian angel, not from your obsessor, then you take A. Or at times you don't get no thoughts come to your mind. You're still confused. You don't know if you should take decision A or B. And Kardec says at that time, if you don't receive anything, just wait. And the proof that you being inspired is exactly that you still don't know. You prayed, you asked, you still don't know to take the side A or side B to make the decision. If it was something anemic from you on, you'd know immediately. You'd not have to wait. You'd not have to spend any time. But because that thought on the decision make, which side to take, has not come to you, is an evidence that it's come from a third party that not arrived to you as yet. Because if it was you on, it's already there. There'll be no problem dealing with that. What's important to keep in mind again here is that there is a very important word in spiritism that is called affinity. We have affinity with spirits through to just affection. I like this guy even though I don't agree with most of the things, but I have an affection towards guys, so I want to help him. But you also have affinity through the quality of our thoughts or the intentions that we have. If I decide that I wanted to rob a bank, likely my guardian angel will suggest me not to do it. But at the same time, there will be some of the spirits out there that love the idea of Elmo going to rob a bank, and they will inspire me and guide me towards that unknown task. So what I'm trying to say that in the issue of inspiration, we have first take care of ourselves. We have to first make sure that we elevate the quality of our objectives, of what we are aiming at. Therefore, we will establish affinity with spirits that it would be more trustworthy, with spirits that will be more likely to help us to stay in the pathway of goodness and not going in the direction of robbing banks and things like that. Inspiration is neutral again. Most of the things are neutral. They are not necessarily good, not necessarily bad. Good and bad is a quality of the spirit, incarnate and discarnate. And when we choose good, we associate with good, and we'll be likely to be inspired by good. We will likely elevate ourselves to the point that those who want to harm us cannot reach us because we are vibrating at a higher side and we're surrounded by the spirits of good as well. So likely the inspiration I receive will be for the good. But unfortunately, the true is also to the opposite side, and it's always a decision that we make. One of the things that is over here is that we pretty much average individuals that we are, not geniuses, not extremely gifted in many things. And at times we have lapses of very genius ideas, something very exceptional comes to us. If you know yourself, if you understand yourself, you know that likely those lapses of geniuses within us is a moment of inspiration that we receive from a third party trying to help us, trying to guide us. One must be naturally very humbled to accept that. I mean, I'm not all that great, and these words likely did not come from me. In a mediumship meeting, we have our ostensive mediums who do the psychographies, who do the psychophonies, who receives needy spirits, and we have the dialoguers who maintain a conversation trying to help those spirits. And the dialoguers are there being inspired continuously when the dialoguers elevated themselves, put themselves in that, as I said before, high level of concentration and thoughts that can really receive all the inspiration of the spiritual mentors of their house. And clearly after communication, dialogue, you feel like, whoa, I could never have said that. That could never have come to me. I could not have that goodness within myself. And the dialogue clearly knows, understand that there was a moment of inspiration, which happens pretty much throughout the mediumship meetings with the dialoguers. Okay, comment, questions? Okay, so let's continue.
183, yes.
Yes, please.
All those who are possessed of genius artists, poets, scientific discoverers, great writers, etc., doubtless spirits of superior advancement, able to comprehend and to conceive great ideas. It is precisely because of this ability that the spirits who desire the accomplishment of some particular work select them as their instruments, suggesting to their minds the trains of thought required for their special ends, so that in a majority of cases, men of genius are mediums without being aware of it. Many of them, however, have a vague intuition of this extraneous help, and everyone who seeks inspiration performs unconsciously an act of evocation whenever he makes an appeal to his good genius to come to his aid, an appeal that is often made, but which would be simply absurd if he who makes it had not an intuitive hope of its being heard. And this assertion is confirmed by the applies made of the following questions.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
So Kardec is creating a parenthesis basically over here, and he's talking about the geniuses, the artists, the scholars, the liberatis, and say they are undoubtedly advanced spirits. Okay, what do you mean by that? Are you saying that the guy who is, let's say, Mozart, with the tremendous uh, geniuses for music, is this an undoubtedly advanced spirit? Well, I don't know. As much as you know by his biography, Mozart wasn't all that morally evolved spirit. Now we got someone brilliant in physics like Einstein, as much as we know, who wasn't all that advanced in some other fields, have problem reading, and wasn't all not that brilliant, morally speaking, as well. So was he undoubtedly an advanced spirit? And of course, Kardec is saying is undoubtedly advanced spirit in a specific field. Mozart was definitely an advanced spirit when it comes to the field of music, the field of arts. Einstein was definitely an advanced spirit when it comes in the field of physics, of mathematics, right? So it's not to say over here that all geniuses or artists, scholars, and literati highly evolved spirits. They are highly advanced, the word advanced is very good, in certain fields of studies, or one or two or three fields of studies, but it doesn't telling over here these are mere Christs, okay? And to complement his thought, basically saying what Jesus have told us, to whom received much, more you'll be giving. And to that goes, do not throw pearls to pigs. Those two statements of Christ, right? What does it mean? What am I trying to say here? Now, I have put tremendous effort, let's say, or let's use Mozart. Mozart has put tremendous effort in the development of music skills. Spend tremendous amount of time, put a lot of work in understanding music and developing the ear skills. They have developed the sensitivity for music and everything else. If a very eloquent in music spirit wants to inspire someone to do some brilliant work in music, who would that spirit choose to inspire? Me, who knows nothing of music, or a Mozart or Beethoven or a Marc Antonio Araújo or whoever name you pick, there is brilliant musicians out there. Naturally, if they wanted to accomplish something great in the field of music, they're gonna look for a great musician or someone who is able to receive those thoughts and apply those thoughts. Because if they give to me, it will be a tremendous waste of time. So to those who received more you'll be giving. But it's not a gift. Mozart did not receive a gift of music from God. Mozart developed for himself. Otherwise, there would be no justice. He put the effort. He deserved that inspiration. I do not prepare myself to take the test. And when I sit down to take the test, I ask my gardeners to inspire me. Elmo, you're gonna fail that test. Now you prepare, you study, you do your best. They're not gonna take the test for you, but they may inspire you somehow for you to recall what you have studied, to recall what you have done through your merit. That's different. So I think it's very important that you understand that here, that no, those geniuses, those artists, they are not near Christ. They are very undoubtedly very advanced in some field of studies, and they will be inspired by highly evolved spirits in that same field through their own merit, and because they don't want to waste their time with someone who was not going to be able to apply that inspiration. Is that clear? Questions, comments?
Yeah. So Spiritism says that, or advise that we don't charge for something that's not ours. But we're studying now the inspirational things. So where do we draw the line? Because, for example, if you're a songwriter or if you're a writer, that, you know, it pretty much, they all say the same thing. I was inspired to write that song. I was inspired to write that book. I was inspired to make that movie. So where we draw the line where, you know, what's from the spirit and can be uh, make your way of life, or something that is not.
Chico Xavier, at one point, he was questioned if through all his experiences or his own work, by the end of his life already, sorry, if after being the pen or the pencil for the spirits for so many publications, he could go and write a book of his own. And he said, perhaps with all the experience that he have accumulated in that particular reincarnation, he could indeed write a book of his own. And but his mission in this incarnation was to be a pen or a pencil for the spirits, and he would continue on that path, had no intention to write a book of his own. What am I saying this? Let's assume that Chico Xavier decided to write his own book. Do you think he would be completely neglected by Emmanuel, by Mei, by all those good spirits that are always with him? He would not be inspired at any point to write his own book?
No.
No. Would that be his book? Could he charge for it?
That's the question.
Why not? It's his book. He wrote it. He was inspired by he wrote. It's his work. Now, when he receives a psychography from Emmanuel, and he declares over there all those thoughts he hears are from Emmanuel, then he's not going to charge because the work really is Emmanuel's work. If you are going to exclude spiritual assistance, inspiration from everything, we will do nothing. Do you think that a surgeon, when he is concentrated in his work, he receives some kind of inspiration? I mean, during the procedure, that a bus driver who will start to fall asleep and receive some inspiration. Hey, pay attention. The thing, no, you have to concentrate here. Could not charge for his or her work. We are surrounded by spirits. We are being bombarded by spiritual energy 24/7. We are all mediums of inspirations just read over here. It doesn't mean that the work that we do belongs to the spirits. Belong to us, but you always receive some inspiration, always receive some help, for the good and for the bad. So we have to have a clear distinction of what's a psychography, what comes from the spirit, period, and what is an inspiration. We are all inspired, for the good and for the bad. And you have to make a living. And the more we work, the best we work, the more inspired we will be.
Thank you.
Continue, Alma?
Please.
Okay. Intuition of this extraneous help, and everyone who seeks inspiration performs unconsciously an act of evocation whenever he makes an appeal to his good genius to come to his aid. An appeal that is often made, but which would be simply absurd if he who makes it had not intuitive hope of its being heard. And this assertion is confirmed by the replies made to the following questions by the spirits whom we have interrogated in regard to this subject. What is the primal cause of inspiration? The communication of his thoughts by a spirit. Is inspiration confined to the revelation of great things? No, it often has reference to the most commonplace circumstances of your daily life. For instance, you may have thought of going somewhere, but a secret voice tells you not to go because there is danger in the way, or it tells you to do something which you have not thought of doing. This is inspiration. There are very few persons who are not more or less inspired in this way at certain moments. May authors, painters, musicians, and so on be considered in their moments of inspiration as mediums? Yes, for in such times their soul is freer, more disengaged from matter, and recovers a portion of its spiritual faculties, and it therefore receives with greater facility the communications of other spirits who inspire it with their own suggestions.
Thanks.
Mhm.
What is the primary cause of inspiration? And again, inspiration from a third party, intuition from oneself. Okay, so you have that distinction. What is from spirit? What is anemic? Mental communication from a spirit. From a spirit. It could be any spirit. Is inspiration only meant for great revelations? This is very important. We have an idea that every time I inspired, being inspired by, a highly evolved spirit to do something absolutely great. And there is no. On the contrary, it's almost always meant to be for the most common life circumstances. You see, Anato, you being consistently being bombarded with inspiration in the common things of life, right? For example, you You want to go somewhere and a secret voice tells you not to because of you would meet with danger. I think all of us have decided to take a different way of going home, one, hopefully not often. And and I don't even know really why, but I'm gonna take a different route today. And later on, oh, there was a problem in that house. There was a fire somewhere along the way. It happens to everywhere, to everyone. And in moments of inspiration, can writers, painters, musicians, for example, be regarded as mediums? That's another important question. Yes, because in such moments, their soul is freer and more separated from matter, and thus it recovers part of its faculty as a spirit and is more easily receives communication from other spirits who inspire it. It's obvious that Kardec is again make a parenthesis here and separating a group of incarnate spirits here being the artists, the painters, the musicians, the artists. And because that's they can they be called mediums? Well, was already established. Everyone is a medium of everyone can receive inspiration. So why is Kardec reinforcing this point? Just a second, something's happening over here. Hold on. Sorry, guys. There was someone at the door here. Sorry.
Okay.
So going back, Kardec is obvious asking for a special or a selected group of incarnate spirits. If at a moment he would be considered mediums, even when he already established that we are all mediums at a certain degree, right? And the spirit's answers also confirming what Kardec's saying, that there is indeed a subgroup of those individuals that when they go into a concentration for their work, to write a book, to write a piece of music, um, to paint, or even to write a technical book, not necessarily only for arts, maybe even for something technical. And they put themselves in such a degree of concentration that they go into some kind of state of trance in which they further separate themselves from the physical body and become more what is the word? Let's say more in tune with the spiritual world, and therefore they can be much easier inspired and much easier they can put that inspiration to work, to apply that inspiration. Why is that significant? Because we are always being inspired. I may be inspired to, I don't know, to cook something different today. I may be inspired to take a different exit on my way home today. Those things are very kind of personal. It's for me or the most for me and my family. Those artists in general, their work will affect a much greater number of individuals. The significance of that inspiration, of that work, will reach a much greater number of individuals, and therefore it's more significant. Okay, if I'm inspired to put less salt on my food, okay, that's good. Less salt is good, but it's for me. Now, if get whatever name of famous person that you have in mind over there, I don't know, Michael Jackson is being inspired to write something. What Michael Jackson does reach a huge number of individuals. Therefore, it is a select group of individuals. It's a subgroup of incarnated people because whatever they do reaches a tremendous number of individuals. Therefore, the consequences of what Michael Jackson put out there and what I do with my cooking are completely different. So therefore, yes, they would be considered medium just like us. But even more, they carry tremendous more amount of responsibility because of the power that they carry, the way they can project that inspiration, they can reach so many more people. Naturally, there is the issues of affinity, there are the issues of intention, that the inspiration may be misguided, may be misused in many different ways. And of course, those individuals have that tremendous power, the power of someone. You don't have to go only with arts, but someone who is rich so many people, power, let's say, of a politician, it's tremendous. Therefore, if they are inspired, they carry a lot of more responsibility what they do with that inspiration.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, so at this stage, there we find ourselves, since we are pretty much bombarded with inspiration, good or bad. So we are pretty much decision makers. We're not like creating things. So I was thinking, where is our merit and where is our fault, since we are not creating ideas or things, we are just deciding what's being inspired upon us.
Well, first of all, it's not true that we do not create. We create. I mean, we are spirits just like the discarnate ones are given as idea. We have idea of our own. We are just capable of thinking and create stuff, just like the ones who are inspiring us. No, we do create. We have intelligence as well. We have a mind and we use it too. In association with what is ours, there is inspiration. Now, there, yes, you become decision makers. I will complement my thoughts. I complement my ideas with this inspiration, or I will not. And the responsibility is 100% yours for your own creation, as well as for the decision that you make to use or not use a thoughts that come through you that is not your own. We are not little puppets. We are spirits with intelligence. We create, we are creating. You just put that question over there. You may claim, oh, those questions came from inspiration from the spirit, or say, no, I thought that. I have that doubt, and I'm asking this because I have that question. And I'm giving an answer that, no, it's mine, or you may have, naturally, we are in study, I like to believe that I'm being inspired as well. But I make a decision of go ahead and express those thoughts or not, and I'm responsible for those thoughts, not whoever inspired me. If they have to deal with the consequence of their own things, that's their problem. But I make the decision of use what's coming to me, but I also have my own things. A musician, when they write something, being lyrics or just music, he's creating this work or she's creating their work. It's her own work. And along the way, she'll be inspired to add a note or remove a note, add a word or remove a word. It may be inspired as well, but that's his or her work.
So in a sense, we only are inspired with things that are related or in the same vibration that we are.
I like to believe that no, because if my guardian angel waits until I get to his level, I'll never get to his inspiration. I think he does a tremendous amount of sacrifice, lower himself to be able to reach me.
Let's say at least the potential to do it, right?
Yes.
Because let's say, for example, somebody cuts you off in the traffic and you want to go after the guy and just, do all the craziness, and you already have the plan in your head of what you're going to do when you reach the guy. So all that thought, all that quote unquote inspiration that comes, it's because you have that on you, right? If you're someone that doesn't have that, you're not going to connect with that kind of inspiration, right?
Well, the guy cuts in traffic and get mad and you curse and I go after the guy. Is you who is doing that. Why you saying that he's being inspired? Along the way, there you those who would love to have fun to see you fight with someone else or to see that someone else getting beating up by you. There will you will create that affinity through your thoughts. It's true, but the thought is yours. The decision is yours. To get angry is yours. It's in you. Now, because you have that in you, you create affinities with all the spirits. But usually we are in the traffic, and if you drive to New York, you're gonna go to that experience. Someone do something horrific to you, you scream out loud if you're driving alone on the road, something bad, and it goes away rapidly because we are overcome those tendencies. It's we doing it. We are putting the effort to overcome those tendencies of going towards the negative. And because we are putting that effort, moving that direction, we are inspired to not continue with that line of thinking. Otherwise, traffic in New York City would never move because it would be everybody, all the drivers stopping, beating one another. No, we can't try to go and blame the spirits for what we do. We make those decisions, and the first thought usually comes from us.
So the first domino is on us.
Yes, and it's from that first one that we are surrounded by association, right? The affinity with all the spirits. But usually the first thing comes from us. Usually, there's always exception to the rules.
Thank you.
It's 8:42. I just want to go through the presentment music is so short, and next week you can start something else. Is that all right?
Okay. Want me to read it now, right?
Yes, please.
Okay. Presentiment mediums. The kind of impression which we call presentiment is a vague intuition of future things. This faculty, more or less developed in certain mediums, is sometimes a result of a sort of second sight, where we take glimpses of the consequences of things present and thus perceive the affiliation of events to come. But it is also, in many cases, the result of occult communications. It is to persons who are thus endowed and who constitute a variety of inspired mediums that we give the appellation of presentiment mediums.
Thank you.
Okay.
So next week we start with chapter 16. So the prescient medium, those have sometimes a kind of advanced perception of a future event. And like when Kardec places over here that what indeed what's happening is that those spirits are being able to perceive the consequences of a present effect. And the effect now is that is happening right now is generating consequences that will be reflected in the future, right? If I rob a bank now, it's a fact now, it is generating consequences of the future. I'm going to spend my life running for the police. I'm going to spend my life afraid of getting caught. All those consequences, right? Maybe I end up getting caught. A prescient medium is one who will see me, understand me getting caught in the future. Okay, so what's happening here is that they are having an advanced perception of consequences of acts of the present. We had in our medium, amongst us at one point, one our colleagues, he knew that of the Thailand, what was the tsunami, a couple of days before it really reached. So in reality, the earthquake that happened way into the ocean happened a couple of days before it reached land. So the consequence of that earthquake, that is the tsunami, that medium was able to notice before it really happened. But it's not a creation. It's just a fact of the moment that creates a wave, and that wave generates a consequence, and they're able to see this ahead of time, which is quite rare, and unfortunately it's misguided, misused, and very often those true mediums who have these presentiments, they do not show up on TVs and make a big deal of it. Very often when those guys become on TV and those kind of things, they are not really not real mediums most of the time. So next week, this is very rare. Doesn't happen often. So next week we'll continue with chapter 16, special mediums. Carol, will you make the final prayer for us?
Sure.
Thanks.
Infinite Creator, First Cause, we are grateful to be together to receive these teachings this evening. We are grateful to learn more about the in-depth of mediumship with greater assertive knowledge. We are grateful to be together, and we are grateful to share what we have learned this evening among our brothers and sisters. We are grateful and give thanks to our spiritual benefactors, the good spirits, the mentors, our guides, our guardian angels, who are also with us, inspiring us each and every day. May we always reach out for assistance as we need it, but may we do our part to resolve what we need to do. It is up to us to take this knowledge and work with it, never to blame others for things not occurring, but put it back into ourselves to make things occur through the cooperation of the good spirits who are surrounding us constantly. It is our choice, it is our decision, but we have the assistance available. We can take the high road, the high path, and as we do so, we become much more enlightened. We are grateful this evening for the love, the light, the teachings of Christ, and may we put these teachings into practice, sharing with others throughout the week, especially for those who are in need, our family members, friends, co-workers, loved ones. And as we close now, we humbly ask for safety and protection to be with us as we go forth to our families, friends, and loved ones. We ask to continue with our prayers and with our studies and mindfulness throughout the week. We know that charity is the key. May we have an open heart and open mind and receive these teachings, sharing with others as they are able to receive. May we go forth now as beacons of light, go forth now in peace. So be it.
So be it.
Thank you,
Thank
Elmo,
you.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you Sunday.
Thanks,
Okay,
See you
everyone.
Sunday.
This
Bye.
Sunday. Bye.
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 Bye-bye.
bye, everybody.